Hey everyone, Arcology's here. I thought I would go ahead and do a quick tutorial on how to arrange a 90s inspired ambient jungle track. I wanted to go ahead and create kind of an arrangement template for Renoise that people could follow if they're having issues arranging tracks. So that's what I went ahead and did. It's pretty simple. The track here is called Hourglass. What I'll do is I'll play it for you, and then we'll go through the arrangement. And this will be for anybody who's using any DAW. I'm going to be using Renoise here, but it won't matter what DAW you're using because the concepts here really apply to anything. The song that I've done here is about 9 minutes long, so it's a lot longer than what your typical track is these days. But it was pretty common to find songs of that length back in the day. And so this arrangement's a very kind of 90s arrangement style. If you want to arrange something a little bit more modern, a little bit shorter, you can basically cut everything in half and get a song under 5 minutes, no problem. But yeah, so we'll go through it here. We'll play the song first, and then we'll go through the arrangement. Okay, so again, the song is 9 minutes long, but if you want to make it shorter, just cut everything in half. We'll go through the song section by section here, and if you look in the renoise file, which I will be sharing, just check the description if you want to download it. You'll see that I have these sections marked off, and they kind of explain in very short detail kind of what's going on. Okay, so we have the first section here. It's 16 bars. So each of these numbers here, each of these lines is a 4-bar section, okay, or 4-bar phrase. So we have 16 bars here, and this is just an intro, okay? So I felt this song, I kind of wanted to have a field recording for kind of an intro part, just 16 bars of that. And so I did. It's some rain and nature sounds. If that's not really your thing, don't even have that section. It's no big deal. So yeah, we have fade that in, 16 bars here. And then this next section here, we can see it says add atmospheric. So we have that nature sound going still, but we're adding these kind of long pad sounds. But yeah, so these pads were made in Reason, and I just used them. I just sampled them and threw them in here. Again, 32 bars. If you're cutting it in half, you want to shorten the length, you can make that 16 bars. But remember, one thing to keep in mind, this is ambient jungle. The genre, the people who listen to this kind of style of music in this genre, especially the old stuff, having really long atmospheric pad sections, I don't think is ever a turn off for anybody. But if you do want to shorten it, you can make that 16 bars without any problem there. So yeah, we have our 32 bar section of atmospherics here. And then after those 32 bars, we break into this, we add the drums, the breaks here. And we just have the, I called it main, just like a main part of the song, the percussion, the break sounds, and the pads. Okay, and that goes on for 32 bars as well. And as we're going through this, one thing that you can think about is you can make this song and the way you build your song as complex or as simple as you like. If you're a producer who likes to really go in and do a lot of crazy edits, and sometimes I love doing like really crazy break edits and tear outs and stuff. But sometimes if you're making like kind of just a chilled out ambient jungle track, it's nice to let things roll on. That's not a rule. I sometimes don't do it. I sometimes do. It just depends how I'm feeling. But if you really want to add a bunch of crazy edits and transitions and build-ups, by all means, go for it. I personally don't really like making things complex just to make it complex. I like stripping things back and making it as simple as possible where I still think it might be enjoyable. But that's, again, more of a personal mantra of mine. But yeah, so keep that in mind. If you want to make it more complex, go for it. So yeah, we have this main section here, 32 bars. And then after that main section, we have a little 16 bar section here where I've noted to add a break layer. Okay, so the layer here is it's just a hat and kind of snare layer that I bounced. It's not that, there we go. So yeah, it's really, really, really simple. And one thing I do, sometimes, depending on how I'm working, sometimes I will keep the break as is and then sequence it using kind of sample offsets or slices. But sometimes if I'm not really if I'm struggling, but if I just want to commit to something, I just bounce it out and I use it as is. And then I'm good with it. Like I can sit here and overthink every time I make a song and nothing's going to get done. So sometimes it's good just to commit, bounce it out, and just use it as is and see what happens. And that's kind of what I did here. So in this section here, I've added that break layer. I also have a kind of hat phrase, and then also a kind of a percussion phrase. The percussion phrase is from a 90s techno record that I sampled off of YouTube. I believe the hat phrase is also sampled as well. Okay, so we have that for 16 bars, okay? So I made a note there. And then after that 16 bars, we have 32 bars here in this next section. This is where I add the bass, okay? And as you can see, this section is also, there's a little mini breakdown towards the end. So this first part here, I've added the bass. Okay, so I have those atmospheric sounds. I have my percussion, my layer, and then I've added the bass. Okay, so after 24 bars here, I go into what I call a mini breakdown. You can also call it a bridge. It's basically just a little section to kind of link your main part of the song with the bass and your kind of atmospherics and stuff to the next kind of change in your song. And so here, after this little mini breakdown, I go to what I typically refer to as like a stripped back portion of the track. This was really common back in the 90s, and people still do it today. But this part would often have just the drums and bass and maybe some lighter effects or elements. Here I'm just I'm just keeping these nature sounds and the drums. I actually had the bass here, but kind of just liked it with just the drums. Personal preference, however you want to arrange it. If it's pretty common to have bass and drums play during this little stripped back portion, but I was just kind of feeling it like this. Okay, so it's really minimal. And what that does is it kind of clears everything out, and then it gets ready for a theme change. Now, a lot of people will oftentimes not really do a theme change, but I personally think if you're going to make a 9-minute song, it's probably good to have a theme change. I've created plenty of long tracks without theme changes, so there are no rules there. If you're doing like a 4-minute song, probably don't need a theme change, but there's no problem if you have one. It just kind of depends however you want to approach it. Longer track, typically try to do it, and sometimes it's fun just to kind of mess with it a little bit. So we have a very kind of calm atmospheric theme for the first 3.5 minutes of this track, right? And we go into a mini breakdown, and then we go to our strip back portion, and we're preparing the listener to go into a theme change or some other kind of added element if you're not doing a theme change. So yeah, we'll just listen to the theme change here. So the pads aren't as long, and there's some filter modulation with a kind of a filter step plugin. Okay, so that's we've hit the theme change, and we're going into like the next section or the main section of the track here, and like kind of like the meat of the track. Okay, so we have 16 bars where we've introduced the theme change, and we're fading out our nature sounds. And then after the theme change, as you can see up here in the theme change, we don't have any of our percussion sounds. We have the hats. We don't have that kind of techno percussion that I've got going. And so I've introduced that back, but I've also, at the end of this theme change, 16 bars here, I've introduced a little clap. It's kind of fun to introduce a little percussive element. So it'll stop, and then clap. Okay. So we have our, again, we're building up to that main loop, okay, that main 32 bar phrase or 32 bar section that it's kind of the meat of our track, okay? So we have this next 16 bars here, add melodic or perks back. Again, these little headings here will kind of explain what's going on, but if you want to use this file as a reference, as you listen to it, you can kind of really identify what's being added, and you can listen for it, and it'll be really easy for you to kind of figure out what's going on with the arrangement. So yeah, we have our percussions back. We keep that little clap in there. And then after 16 bars there, again, now we start adding melodic elements. So here we have a 16 bar section where I'm adding some keys, just like a chord key sound created in either Spire or Vibros. Yeah, it's Spire. Okay, so I've got a little chord getting hit in Spire here. Okay, and that's 16 bars. And then I go into a section here. In this next section, I'm just dropping the bass. So if you're shortening this track, you probably don't need to do this. But if you want the track to kind of roll on and really keep that longer ambient vibe, dropping things in and out is a good way to keep a little bit more kind of some variety to your track, right? So here we're dropping the bass again. Probably maybe didn't need to do that and could just had this going on for 32 bars. But again, just kind of what I was feeling. We're just going to drop the bass there. Also dropping that clap sound for a bit. And so now it's just kind of the keys and the pads. All right, so we still have that key, but we don't have any bass sound. And then here, we're reintroducing the bass, we're keeping the keys, and then we're adding kind of a top or mystical atmosphere. People sometimes call it sparkles or like kind of swirly tops, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of a higher atmospheric sound. and you can kind of hear that in the background. Okay, so we've got that little kind of swirly top background going, and we have that going for 16 bars. And then here, we want to add a melodic sequence, okay? So after this 16 bar section, after we've had that kind of top or swirly mystical atmosphere, we're going to be bringing in some, we're going to be bringing in a melodic sequence here. Okay, so after we've added the melodic sequence, we go into a 32 bar breakdown here, okay? And the breakdown is when you just basically have your melodic elements without drums, typically. Or you kind of have like some, some single one-shot drums and like a little bit of kind of percussions here and there. But for this one, I'm just kind of stripping it back to just the melodic sounds. I've also added a new string sound here, okay? So we can hear that string kind of tying things together. Okay, so we had that string added, and I also kept the bass here, okay? So that's the first half of this 32 bar breakdown. We're getting into the second half here, and you can see it's the same as the first half, but I've stripped back the bass. I've just removed it. So now it's just the melodic sounds and the pads and the strings. Just nice and chill. I've got the clap in there again. Okay, and this leads up to essentially the meat of the bulk of the song, kind of the meat of the song, right? So this is where if you're a 32 bar, if you make those 32 bar phrases and if that's how you kind of start your track, that's kind of what we're building up to here. So I've called it main part 3, all melodics. We have all the melodic sounds that we have. We have the clap in here. We've got the pads. We've got bass. I've stripped out the percussion and hat sounds. Probably add those back in if you want, but I add them in the outro again. So yeah, it's our 32 bar section, kind of all our stuff combined. And then after that 32 bars here, I'm dropping out that string, all right, because I don't want that string to go on for the rest of the track. I just want to drop it out. And then I have my my key hit, my kind of top, my swirly tops, and my sequence. And I've added in the hats and the percussion loop. And I've titled this outro 1, okay? So it's like, this is basically getting towards the end of the song. So this will play for 32 bars. And then we have the main outro, which is just pads and nature sounds, basically. And then we end it. So yeah, that's kind of how I would go about arranging a longer 90s style track. So hopefully this was helpful to people. Again, I'm going to post the project file. You could download it and use it however you'd like. Yeah. Take care, everyone. Peace.